Alright, so in today's video, I'll be going over all of the steps for creating this design. If you're fairly new to Rhino or Grasshopper and you want to learn a few tips and tricks to get you started, this is going to be a perfect tutorial where I share with you all of the steps on how to create this. So with that being said, if you have any comments or any questions, let me know in the comments below. I appreciate you guys coming by and checking out this tutorial. At the end, I'll also be sharing with you a really cool new tool that I'm using called ReRenderai.com, and I've been using them to turn some of the designs that I have into a more presentable rendered version of the design. So I'll be sharing that towards the end with a affiliate code, which you can check out in the description, or you'll see it here on screen. So thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you coming by, and let's jump right into the tutorial. Alright, so I've already started here with this file. I've brought in a scale person, and now we're going to get started with the first command and the first component. So let's go here to construct point. This is going to give us a parametric point that now we can use to start the whole script. So with this one, we'll route it through an empty point component. Now we're going to be moving this point in the X direction. So I'll take this point, bring in a move component. Use a unit X vector, and then bring in a slider. So this is going to move that point in the X direction. Now the next one is going to be creating the midpoint between these two. And for that, we can use average. This will let us plug in both of those points. So holding down shift, I'm adding more than one input, and notice that now we get the midpoint. And if I move this, it still stays there in the middle. Now, if you are seeing things a little bit different in your Grasshopper script, it could be because I have my display, draw icons, draw fancy wires, and draw full names. And sometimes you might have it set up differently, so you might be seeing it in a different way. So now that we have this, we're going to be moving this point in the positive X and negative X. So let's bring in a move component. We're going to be moving it in the positive X. So now we can bring in a slider. We'll just say 24 in the positive X. And we're also going to be doing that in the negative direction. So I'm sliding this one, tapping Alt to create a copy, and then using the same vector, now use a negative. So rather than using the same input, one is going to be a negative, which means that it's going to be moved from the center in both directions using this slider. Next, we're going to be taking those points and moving them in the Y direction and negative Y direction. So let's bring in a move component. I'll use this one first as the input. I'll use a unit Y vector to move that. And then I'll just copy this slider here. And I'm going to be doing this twice, once to this one and once to this one. So I'll override the geometry input. And since I want one going in the opposite direction, we're going to be using a negative component to make one a positive and one a negative. So what does this do? We're going to be able to see it as soon as we create an interpolated curve. And so for this one, it's interpolate. Now we also have NURBS curve, which is similar to it, but this one goes through the exact points here. So we'll go to first point into the vertices. The second point is going to be this one. So holding down shift, I'm adding another one. Then we'll go through this one. Holding down shift. And then the last one is going to be this one. So holding down shift once again here at the end. Now notice that some of these points come from the beginning. So I'll actually right click here and go to wire display. Hit it. And notice that we've created this sine shape using the initial length, how far away those get moved. Let's increase the maximum on this one. And then with this one, the minimum and maximum here. And we can also go here to negative, from negative 100 to positive 100. So we can actually go the other way if we want to. So if you're fairly new here at Grasshopper, this is a really good exercise for you to use, is because all we're doing is moving the points around and then connecting them using this geometry. But you can really see the impact of how you can tie things together and even get like the midpoint here and then move it from the center. So these are all really good things to know if you're fairly new. Now, on the next steps, we're going to be getting a little bit more complicated. And what we're going to do is take this part and we're going to be creating a surface. Now, the next step is bring in the move component, move it in the Z direction to create the height. So this is going to be the height of the design. But what I want to do is here in the middle, rotate this so it creates kind of this undulated wall. So now that we have this moved up in the Z direction by 146, we're also going to be moving it into the middle. So how do I do that? Well, we know that the Z vector is 146. So we know that it brings it up 146. And if we do divide by 2, we can do a movement to the middle halfway from this one. Because this is the full height, this is halfway up. And so if we use this, now we can create a middle segment. Now with this one, I'm going to be rotating it. So I'll get the midpoint, the curve middle. I'll bring in a plane that is YZ. And rotate this segment. So we'll go to rotate this segment relative to this plane. Now the angle is going to be in degrees, and I'm going to set the number here at 180. And now I'm going to disable the preview on this. So basically we created a copy in the middle and rotated it, and it always stays in the middle between those two. So now we can loft together those three segments. So we'll go here to loft between the first curve, the rotated one, holding down Shift, and then the one at the top. Now we'll go ahead and wire display hidden and take a look here, and we'll see the shape of the surface. Now, if you want to see it a little bit more clearly, we can bring in a custom preview, and this will let us apply a superficial material here. So custom preview and color swatch. And I like to move this, let's say, to 25 or to like a dark gray. Now, what we're going to do is create a design out of this. So we're going to take this loft. So I'll hide this first. And we're going to move this in the Y direction. So I'll use a unit Y and a slider to move it in that direction. Now I'm going to take between those two and create a loft to create the kind of band that goes between those two. And now we can use a brep join to join the outside, the other side, and the band that goes around. When we look at the output here, it says a closed brep. And so now we can override this custom preview and then take a look at what we have. So basically creating a solid first, because once we create that solid, then we can use contour using this brep as the shape. The point is going to be in the center. So we'll go here to an area component, plug in the centroid into the point. Now in the direction is going to be in the Z direction. And the distance, we'll just say, we'll make it a minimum of 6 less than 12 less than 48. Okay. Now I'll use boundary surfaces for that and hide the solid. So now you can see that we basically created the contours to extract where that intersects. And now these are going to be the shelves. And we can also do the same thing, but instead of in the Z direction, in the X direction. So let's go here to 24, maybe even more. Let's see if I can make this a little bit more. Let's make this, let's say 12, 24. Yeah, that's good. And then here. Okay, maybe it could be some kind of wall divider. Okay. All right, so let's bring back this VREP. All right, so I'll be creating a frame around this. So let's take a look at this. We'll go to a bounding box. So there's two different ways to do it, using this component bounding box or using a box component. And when you plug this into a box component, it'll actually create a bounding box around it. Now with this, we're going to be scaling it non-uniform. So using this box and the center of this form, which we have here. And we can actually use this centroid as the center of this one as well. And then scaling it here in the X and Z direction. And now we can subtract using Boolean difference or solid difference here in Grasshopper. Subtract the initial box from the second box. So this is a frame that goes around that. Now let's take a look at the subdivisions here. I'm going to decrease the number of them. So if I increase the spacing between them, now I can just go to this one, and I'm going to be creating the portion of the script for this one and then copying it and creating it for the ones in the other direction. So we'll take this one, we'll go to offset surface. It's going to be both in the positive and negative direction. So I'll go to a slider of 1.5. And since I'm offsetting to both sides, I'm actually going to divide it by 2. So I have the actual size. And then I'll go in the positive, in the positive and in the negative direction. Now this is the old one. And now I'm going to create a loft between this one and this one to create the band, and then join these two offsets and the band in between, creating 7 shelves with the sliders that we have right now. So now, like I said, we're going to be doing the same thing to this one. So we have to double click here and create a relay because this output goes to 2 different surfaces. So now all we need to do is copy this because we're actually we can copy this because we want maybe the verticals to be a different size. So we want to copy the slider. Now we can hide all of this. And let's see what it looks like with some materials. And then moving this down, let's see what it looks like here with this one, maybe having a different material. Maybe it's being too drastic here with this one. Maybe it's just a small amount. And even then, here we can also increase these subdivisions by changing the number. So 24. Maybe this changes a little bit of where that happens. Okay. All right, so what we've done with this tutorial is I've shown you how to create kind of this sweeping shape, then how to array it vertically and create this form, then how to turn that into a set of shelves with an outside frame. So what I'll be doing here is cleaning it up. So let's take a look here at what we've done. So this is going to be the overall length. This is going to be the shape point. I'll group this one as well. I'll hide. I can actually leave those so we can see them. Then here's going to be the amplitude. Here's going to be the height. Going to be the spacing. Oh, this is going to be the depth actually. And this is going to be frame. Z spacing. This one's going to be X spacing. This is going to be material 1 and material 2. Then here, I'll end in a geometry component. All right, so at the end here, we have our design. So what I'll do is take both of the outputs, middle click, and I'll bake it. And I'll go here to a new Grasshopper file so we don't have that one in the way. Let's go here into just looking at it in Rhino mode. So now that we have this design, we can look at it also here in rendered mode with the same materials that we had before. I'll move this back a little bit, and what I'll be doing is just taking a screenshot of this. So let's kind of do something like this. You don't have to use a high quality render. All we need to do is go here to capture to file. I'll be capturing it at a fairly large scale. And I'll be bringing this here to, we'll call this render 1. and I'll call this capture 1. Maybe I'll grab another shot of it a little bit lower, like this. I'll go to capture to file. We'll call this capture 2. And now let's go into ReRenderai.com to see how we can turn this into a more realistic version of what this could be represented in the real world. Like I mentioned, if you go to ReRenderai.com and you check out the affiliate code, you'll be able to have access to not just the render. I think you have a 7-day trial, 7-day pro trial, and a 20% off to use this. So there are different ways that you can use this. What we'll be doing is render. And notice that I've done a few things here, and I've played around with it, and it's actually really cool what it can do. So go to upload image. Let's go into our files. Let's go back to render 1 folder, and then open up capture 1. So this is the file that we have. We're going to be using that one. Now I've played around with it a lot, but I can, it has so many different options that it's almost unlimited. So what I'll be doing on this one is figuring out what is going to be the style that this is going to be. So for me, it's going to be commercial and maybe public library. We'll just say high-tech library. Time of the day, I'll just do midday. Season, you can pick from all the different ones. I'm going to do spring. The sky, I'm going to do a clear sky, although you can pick from all those different ones. Landscape, I'll do cityscape. And material, I'm going to do steel. Now here, you can write a prompt. So this is going to give you like an example, like modern living room with large windows. Well, this is going to be a dividing, let's do it without caps, dividing wall shelves in a busy library with seats and children all around. Let's see what happens here. So using this, we're going to be able to go to render, and it's going to start rendering. So it's going to generate it here. In a few seconds, I'll show you what it's going to look like. Right now it's at 1%, 2%. So it's not too slow, but it's not immediate. So I'll show you here as soon as we're done. All right, so it gave me some results here, and I'm not saying it's perfect, but wow, what it can do here. So what it did is it turned it into a space, kind of like a library, and you can see all the colors. You can see some books in here. You can see the change between before and after just from this input. It took less than 2 minutes to render. Now there's that one. There's also this one. So they're not 100% perfect, but it gets the idea across of what this could be, what it could look like within a space. Now you can also go down here and change it to from precise to creative, and it will give itself a little bit more freedom into what it interpolates as the design. So let's take a look at what it can do in this mode. All right, so with creative, it kind of went too far away from the original. So I would stay around balanced, and then here, maybe take some of this out and then try it again. All right, this makes a little bit more sense, where it shows you what it would look like. Maybe not at a children's library, but what this library set of shelves could look like here. And some of these could be just concepts, right? Of how this could be incorporated with different materials. So with that being said, thank you very much for being here. I just wanted to show you a few of the new tips and tricks, also showing you this new tool that is really useful for those of you who just want to take a quick capture of your design and change it up into something more presentable.